Yeah, thanks very much, guys. And thanks to eBeef for having us along today to present to everyone on the webinar. Just to clarify our involvement with eBeef, we're looking at identifying some properties in Northern Queensland and the Northern Territory to conduct further trials with our devices. And we're doing that through the eBeef Smart Farming Partnership and also in conjunction with some other partners of that program, groups like AgriHive and some of the other herd management platforms to really take that data out and put it in people's hands to get some great industry feedback. Interesting that everyone knows us as Ceres Tag, and they know a lot about the tag. You'll see from the title of my presentation today, I'm actually going to spend a bit of time talking about our livestock information platform. Whilst the tag is extremely cool and it's something you can see and touch and feel, it's really a means to populate that platform in an automated fashion with really valuable information on the stock that are wearing the tag. So just bear that in mind as we go through. It's not all about the tag today. Look, we're here to really address a number of challenges in the industry with this technology as we bring it to market. We're certainly here to address the on-farm challenge and the need to produce far more food, fibre and fodder for a rapidly growing global population. And we see a lot of that happening through the adoption of really specific and targeted technologies on farm. But we're also looking more broadly at how those devices and that data can be used right across the supply chain, ultimately putting that information in the hands of the consumer. The modern consumer, in the agricultural context at least, has never cared more or known less about where their food comes from. So we think it's really interesting that we have the technology to generate so much information on these animals on farm, but we're not seeing that translate into consumers understanding how those animals were produced and the effort and quality that's gone into putting that steak on their plate. And we really want to do that by tracking our devices and taking that data right through the entire supply chain to really look at a provenance, traceability, and a welfare layer of data that's like a golden thread throughout the industry and everything we're doing along the way. And we really want to achieve that with what is today the only direct-to-satellite smart ear tag for livestock. So you'll hear a lot about satellite connectivity as a possible solution for ag tech in a number of different contexts, but often that involves using antennas or base stations or relays of some kind. So we're the only solution that goes directly from the tag or the device on the animal to the satellite. And what that means is there's no need for any other hardware, infrastructure, or any sort of coverage or phone reception at all where these tags are deployed. So we can put a tag in the post to anywhere on the surface of the earth and automatically generate data as soon as it's applied to an animal. We're also on track to be the world's the first and only accredited smart ear tag. And what I mean by accredited is those programs and standards for the identification of animals. So internationally, they're run by a group called ICAR, and nationally, in various countries around the world, they look like programs like the NLIS or NAIT in New Zealand. Believe it or not, no other smart tag in the world has the characteristics required to achieve that accreditation. Whereas Ceres Tag's been built from the ground up to work in a capacity that sees it eligible for accreditation in those schemes and able to replace the standard NLIS button that we use today and yet offer so much more to the end user. This slide is just to give you an understanding of what both the tag and the applicator look like. The tag at the top of the screen has a large solar panel on its face. It also has a small window in the bottom left-hand corner that houses a couple of LEDs. So the tag can actually communicate to someone through a series of flashing lights that something is wrong, for example. There's also room for logos or various identifying marks to be placed on the outside of the tag. The male pin on the back of the tag is a twin pin design, uniquely designed for the Ceres Tag system, and uses a retention system that's proprietary and unique to the Ceres Tag again. And this, in conjunction with the applicator, sees a tag that requires only 30% of the force of a traditional tag to be applied to an animal, but with 500% of the force required to separate the device to remove it from an animal. So it's an incredibly secure device with a very high degree of retention. The applicator looks very different as well, and it's been designed from the ground up to make the experience very pleasurable for the person applying the tag and a really positive welfare outcome for the animal being tagged. The applicator is also a smart device in itself. It communicates to the tag when it's applied and actually turns that tag on. So it activates the tag at the point of application. This is what a tag looks like on an ear. It does sit on the back of the ear, unlike a traditional tag that sits on the front face of the ear. And this is to give us better exposure to sunlight and also better reception when we're communicating up to those low Earth orbit satellites whizzing around the planet. Just going to spend a little bit of time on this slide talking about the technologies that are inside the tag and just some of the examples of the use cases we have people lined up to employ when deploying tags on farm. So starting at number one, yes, there is a GPS chip in the tag, and people do want to know where their animals are, but they want to know for a whole bunch of different reasons. People may want to know for mustering purposes, so they can actually identify where mobs of cattle are before bringing them in. They may want to understand pasture utilization and how animals move around the environment. Or it may be for more of a business-focused application. For example, having an accurate asset register of how many cattle you have, where they are, what condition they're in, and then using that information and sending it out to either your bank, your insurance agency, or your carbon accounting practice to allow them to automate the process of evaluating your practices, de-risking their investment in lending you money or insuring your stock and reducing premiums in that capacity. We've had great feedback from the finance sector in that regard. Or automating the very cumbersome and detailed data collection required to access Australian carbon credit units schemes. Of course, at number two, people do want to know if animals are going into places they're not meant to be. So have they been stolen? Have they broken out or gotten into a paddock they're not meant to be in? Or are they just wandering or possibly getting close to a road? Moving down to point three, one of the other major technologies in the tag is actually a very advanced accelerometer. And you can think about accelerometers as the thing that puts the word smart in smart tag. So I'll give you an example of what we use ours for. We use it to characterize animal behaviors into things like ruminating, eating, drinking, lying down, and a whole range of various activities that relate to things like reproduction or estrus detection, what sort of health status the animal is in, or is it under any sort of distress or duress or possibly wild dog attack, for example. So it's really the piece that encodes individual behaviors minute by minute. On top of that, in the next box, we are monitoring temperature, but I'm very quick to point out that this is an ambient temperature. So it is not a core temperature for the animal. It's impossible to get an accurate core temperature measurement at the ear, but we use this to interpret animal behaviors. Are these animals behaving this way because they're too hot or too cold or don't have access to good shade or shelter? On top of all the other features of the tag, it also contains Bluetooth communication. So why would we have Bluetooth if we already have satellite communication? Well, the Bluetooth allows the tags to talk to other tags. It allows the tags to talk to other on-farm smart enabled equipment like smart vaccination or walkover weigh scale units. And probably most importantly, it allows us to talk to the tag. So throughout the animal and the tag's life, we can upload new algorithms and new features to that tag through Bluetooth. So for example, if an animal arrived at a feedlot wearing one of these tags, the owner could actually upload an algorithm focused on BRD detection and change the behavior of the tag, all the while it's sitting on the animal. So thanks to the solar panel and the battery, this device will function for over 10 years as well. It's important to point that out. So what are we targeting? Well, look, at launch, we're targeting cattle. It's as simple as that. We'll be working right around the world, however. It won't be in individual countries. We'll be working globally to put this technology into the hands of cattle producers. We also have a number of pre-orders in the wildlife space where people are wanting to use this technology on things like rhinoceros, giraffes, and a lot of sub-Saharan valuable wild animals. Sheep, goats, and other small ruminants will probably follow in a number of years when we're able to take a round of miniaturization on the device and really get it down to the the size it needs to be to suit those animals directly. Important to point out that the tag is completely tamper evident, and it is one tag for one life. So once a tag goes on an animal, it is not removable or reusable. At the end of their life, however, the tags are recyclable. So we're trying to reduce our impact on the environment as much as possible. However, whatever species or application you're using it in, it is an automated satellite-capable device for animal monitoring anywhere in the world, anytime, with no infrastructure or maintenance and no ongoing subscription fees. You purchase the tag up front and it's yours to use for its life. Right now, we do have some trials underway, but what we're really excited about is that we're gearing up for a 3,000 tag trial with partners in trial sites in 8 countries around the world. And that's going to kick off from about December and January. So we're really keen to get that underway. From there, we'll be moving to full-scale commercial manufacture and routinely selling the tags commercially through our e-commerce store from around June 2021. What I'd like to do now is just play you a brief video that gives you an understanding of what it might look like if you had a tag on your animals today and what some of the applications you might be able to achieve on farm. All right, visit our social media, visit our YouTube channel, or reach out to me directly to watch that video yourself at your leisure with it. But happy to stick around and take some questions now, and we can always be reached at some of the details available on this slide. Thank you.